Hello and welcome to the next episode in our review for the season 5 of the 100. We just got done watching episode 5, Shifting Sand, and overall I think it was one of the poorer episodes of the season. I still enjoyed parts of it, but not all of it. I think that there were some really weird scenes, like the one with the worms that attacked that guy out in the desert. It was just like the movie Aliens. They didn't really do anything interesting or different with it. It just kind of infected the guy. He got sick. He infected Octavia, and then if Octavia got sick, it would have been passed on to somebody else. I guess it didn't quite out. It didn't play out quite as deadly as in the movie Aliens, but for that reason, it just made it less interesting and a little bit more boring. So I wasn't a big fan of that, but I did like what they did with one crew in this episode. I thought it was really cool how the people kind of banded together and looked after Octavia in the sandstorm, and how they all are a unique society now, that they kind of value the grounder values and different values. I thought it was really interesting how at the beginning of the episode the grounders had guns and they pointed them at Bellamy, because in the past grounders just would have like held up a knife to their enemies, and they would have never considered pointing a gun. But there was a lot of people in that tent that were grounders, and they pointed the guns at Bellamy, and it kind of showed that they were a little bit more like Sky Crew. And I felt like when they all huddled together in that kind of ritual mass around Octavia, it was showing that even the Sky Crew people were a little bit more like grounders. And there's definitely an interesting intersection of those two value systems there. I did like the line about love being weakness, and how that was one of Gaia's teaching. It seems like Octavia is getting a lot of her values now from Gaia, and that's interesting to me because Gaia didn't like her at first because she didn't have the Nightblood, but she hasn't given up on all of her old values, even though she accepts Octavia now for as being their commander. She doesn't think that all of her old values are useless. There's definitely a lot to be learned, and that Octavia should value. And I'm interested to see what they do with Gaia and those teachings in the future. What else is there I wanted to say about... Oh yeah, Miller ignoring Clark at the beginning. I thought that it was a little bit different than what they've done with Miller in the past. I thought that in this case he was very kind of calculated and an interesting decision maker. Like at first he just kind of didn't want to talk to Clark because he had a mission and he thought he could accomplish it, and then she brought information to him that made him think otherwise, and he made a decision that really changed the direction of the whole episode. If he had just gone along with Octavia's plans, then he would have probably gotten them all in a lot of trouble. And I'm glad that they didn't do that, because that would have been very similar to what they've done with him in the past. He's just kind of been a follower, and now I feel like he's going to take on a bit more of an advisor role, and I'm excited to see that with that character. On this page I have some interesting things about Diyoza and how she didn't want 50 more of them in. She definitely remembered about the 5 in the woods, and she's obviously like aware of everything going on around her, and she's not just like a scary person, she's also like an interesting person. She's got a good sense of humor and wit, and I think that they'll probably do some cool stuff with her, and a bunch of other characters later on in this season. I'm not too sure what they're going to do, but I like her and McCreary for sure. They're great together. That whole line about her telling him that he had more value back on the rock. I'm guessing that's the asteroid that they were mining, and then she says something to him about like, don't flatter yourself, that's torture. I thought that was like a really good line. They definitely are giving her a lot of attention and writing her character really well. So I'm definitely enjoying all the scenes with Diyoza. I thought that all of those scenes were some of the stronger scenes in this episode, and yeah, if they keep that type of stuff up, I'm really excited for future episodes. After that, they had the prisoners listening to metal. I really enjoy that type of music, especially that type of metal that they had on. I was kind of bummed out to hear that Diyoza didn't think it had a beat, but hey, it's not for everyone. So, what are you gonna do, right? Another thing I liked after that was Vincent. Is that how you say it? Vincent. He's an actor that I've seen in a lot of other sci-fi shows, and I think that that means we might start seeing some other really popular actors who've been in things like Battlestar Galactica or Continuum. I think he was in Continuum, and I think that healer that was Lincoln's friend a long time ago, he was in things like Battlestar Galactica and other sci-fi shows. They seem to be reaching into those other sci-fi casts and pulling out some pretty strong characters. Vincent is just super creepy with those glasses. Like, I don't think they've had him wear glasses before, but it's great. He just pulls off that look really, really well. Like, he's a sociopath, right?
Cannibal.
What did she say? Don't put your hands...
Don't get your hands or feet too close to his mouth.
Your feet?
Well, it was like hands and legs or something.
Yeah,
weird.
It was wild. He sounds like somebody that they'll probably kill off pretty soon.
Yeah.
I don't know how Abby's gonna try and save him, but I bet they don't care. Anything's on the table at this point. And I thought that interaction was interesting because of the collar too. How she's keeping the collars on some of them. She's definitely using the tools that that were used on them. She sees some value in restraining some of her population. She understands not all of them can be free or 100% free, but she didn't like the fate that they were sentenced to. I think she still values Vincent, even though she doesn't like him. She values his life, which is cool. Like, she learned some lessons serving in the SEALs or whatever happened back before they all were sent off into space. McCreary had some crazy scenes. I did like that interaction with Diyoza, but then the one where he poured water on Raven, that was wild. Like, I did like how crazy it was and how intense he was, and it almost seemed like it was gonna work. Like, if she had any information, that might have actually pushed her over the edge. But man, it was just uncomfortable because, like, I didn't want him to do anything to old Raven. Like, I could see that some bad stuff happening to Raven. They always like hurting her, don't they? Now her arms don't work. I don't know. Who knows? Who knows what's next for poor old Raven? But yeah, Shaw stood up for them just in time. It's kind of, he kind of had to. I mean, he put them in that situation, right?
I mean, yeah, but he also kind of betrays them later, but...
Wasn't that Raven's plan?
Was it?
I think so, because Raven says, you'll like my plan better, so, I think she tries to lead off Diyoza's army away from the people, but maybe he did betray them. I'm not entirely sure. You think that he betrayed them in that scene?
Maybe.
Yeah, that's possible. I thought that was part of Raven's plan, but yeah, if you think you can leave a comment below and let us know what you think, and yeah, I'm really interested to see what people are saying online, because I'll probably look into that after this. What did you think about the fact that there are 13 patients with this pulmonary tumefaction or something like that? Tumefaction.
Seems pretty normal.
Yeah, they were put in some pretty bad conditions mining whatever they were mining, this super advanced fuel, and it's leading to some unpredicted...
I mean, they just use these fancy words. It just means, like, tumors in the lungs.
Yeah, that's true. I think that Abby's gonna be able to do something for them eventually, but it's gonna be up to her, because she does say something to McCreary about, like, should I save you? And
Are you worth saving or something like that?
Yeah, I think that's an indication of where they're gonna actually go with this. Like she'll be able to do something for them, but will she? And I actually don't know. I think that's a coin flip with her character. I never know what they're gonna do with Abby. They've done so many weird things with Abby. They've taken her in 100 different directions, so it's impossible to predict what they're gonna do next with her. I really liked that line that Murphy had with Maddie, who's a hobbit. That's just kind of funny little line, and then Maddie's like, "Yeah, I didn't like that. You could have done better." Basically, I thought you'd be funnier. You're not that funny, Murphy. Because I think Murphy's hilarious. He's one of my favorite characters in the show because he has those quick little lines here and there. Um, he's definitely had quite a few with Monty. Some of my favorites have been him just kind of talking to him around the end of last season and at the beginning of this season.
Mm-hmm.
I did think it was cool that Amori stayed behind after Murphy had that line. It was kind of cheesy, but at the same time, like I wasn't really expecting that based on what they've done with the characters so far. But I guess that might be the direction they're going to take this character. Try and redeem him through getting him to win back Amori, but I don't think that's what I want. I think that's definitely not what I don't think that's what a lot of people want. From what I've seen, this hashtag Mervin is a pretty popular thing.
That's true, but I've also seen people wanting Raven to get with the prisoner. Like, what is that guy's name?
Shaw.
Shaw.
You think Shaw and Raven might have a thing? Yeah, I remember you saying
like
something to me about that.
Yeah, I like Amori and Murphy better.
Yeah.
And I called that earlier this year. So.
One Dagmar, zero Winsler. Oh, I thought it was really cool how in this episode that Bellamy said something to Clark about Pandora's box and how opening the bunker was opening Pandora's box, because I said something to you about at the end of after our last episode about what did you think Pandora's box was in that episode, because I didn't think it was very clear. I thought it could be a couple different things, like when that guy shot the grounder that protected Octavia. I thought that might be unleashing something that cannot be taken back, like that might be opening Pandora's box. And then also we talked about the cryopods also being potentially like Pandora's box. They're boxes that were being opened, and then once they were opened, you couldn't really seal that. Do you think you agree that?
I think that was kind of the point of the metaphor, is to like make it go throughout the whole thing, right? Like shifting sands this episode. Like obviously they were dealing with sandstorms the whole time, but it's just a larger metaphor.
I think they're doing a pretty good job with naming their episodes. Like they've always done a pretty good job with that in the past. I found that they're pretty to the point and pretty indicative of what the episode's actually about. They'll actually just get the point across and let you know what to expect, and that's one of their strong suits in this show. I'm pretty sure Cooper, that the I think white lady that has like tattoos on her head, is the farm lady from the revolt in that one episode, but I'm pretty sure she died in the arena. I might have to go back and watch that to double check that, but she reminds me a lot of that farm station lady that was like a little bit crazy at the beginning of this season, and it would make a lot of sense to me that she'd be one of Octavia's most loyal followers, because
It doesn't seem loyal to me. She seems like a suck up. Like she's trying to compensate for something she did that she screwed up.
it could have been
Loyalty.
the whole rebellion that got a bunch of her own people killed, or just one crew people killed, because those would have been what Octavia considered one crew. All the people that she had to kill that were guilty. Let's see. There's only a couple more points here I have about like Bellamy and Echo at the end, and then Diyoza, almost ready to end this. It seems that Diyoza slit her own throat when like a SEALs team shot her dad, basically, after trying to hide her for who knows whatever reason. But I guess she must
Because
have
she
done.
was a terrorist. You don't remember this?
She must have.
From
Well,
the earlier episode?
that's what people charged her with, but who knows if she was happy with what they were doing as the SEALs teams. What I think is that potentially she got like charged with terrorism for having maybe like morals. Like she didn't feel like going along with what the rest of the SEALs were doing, so she like left them and was almost thinking about speaking out, and that's why they sent her off into space, because she couldn't tell her story if she was off in space. Like it was a way to silence her, and there may be other people that are in space for similar reasons. But that's just like a personal theory that I have right now, and they'll probably explain a little bit more of that later on. But you think she actually was a terrorist, right?
I don't think that she's a particularly moral person, no.
Well, she seems to be, I think,
she
in
seems
between.
Strategic. I wouldn't say moralistic.
Mm-hmm. She's in between Shaw and McCreary. She's definitely like a great person, and Shaw's not even a great person. He's just like one of the best ones out there,
Mm-hmm.
and they're all like morally compromised. But a lot of people in the show are like, there are no good guys, right? That's a pretty big theme in this show.
Mm-hmm.
We said that earlier in the episode, or not episode, earlier in the season. They just have different thresholds for different things that they find acceptable and not. But yeah, the last thing I want to talk about is Bellamy's kiss with Echo and Clark's reaction and Octavia's look, because I think that Clark's jealous. It may have been she was just a little surprised. She's like, "Oh, Echo, you're still alive," but I don't think that was everything that was going through her mind.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think she has feelings for Bellamy?
Mm-hmm.
I found out recently that this whole show is based off of a book. I'm actually pretty surprised that I didn't know that earlier, and it sounds like in the book Clark and Bellamy are a thing.
Yeah.
So that makes sense. I think they're definitely going to do that eventually, now that I know that's what they did in the source material. Spoilers, right? Stories
Say
at the beginning.
spoilers after you tell everything.
In the book. I don't know exactly. I haven't read the book. I heard something about this. I could be wrong. Yeah, I think they'll probably do that with this character, or with those two characters. It seems obvious. It just seems like a natural thing. I think it's something they've been hinting at for a long time. Like, they're the two biggest leaders in the
The
community.
head and the heart.
Mm-hmm. Are in agreement.
Well, not right now, but yeah.
They don't feel good about Octavia. They're in agreement about Octavia. This is, I think, our villain this season. I think we got to be more worried about Octavia than Diyoza, is what they're both thinking. And they may be right. I think they may be right. Octavia's look was, I thought I sentenced you to death. Why are you still alive? When I sentence people to death nowadays, they're pretty dead.
Mm-hmm.
So, I'm not hopeful for Echo's future. I'm a little bit nervous for Maddie, because she's a Nightblood, a natural Nightblood, not like Clark. She wasn't made. But yeah, I think that's everything I wanted to say about this episode. Sorry if I rambled on. It seems like this did go longer than I originally planned. But yeah, if you enjoyed this, don't forget to leave a like and to subscribe. I got some links below to things like my social media. We'll see you around.